JBM was a very stable, profitable auto components company, and yet Nishant chose to go into electric buses before most people believed it would work.
What got us here will not take us there in the future. So we have to act differently to get different results.
But I think the human element can never go away, whether in technology or in manufacturing.
I think like Make in India, similarly Create in India, Design in India kind of initiative, in addition to all the good work which has been done, is brought in, then that will accelerate growth a lot faster.
How did you see the broader ESG narrative during the days that you were doing what you were doing?
Sustainability is not something which is good to have, it is need to have. It's not on the sidelines, it's mainstream.
In 2010, Nishant Arya came back to India after studying in the UK, walked into a business that was doing everything right, and decided to bet it on something India wasn't ready for yet. JBM was a very stable, profitable auto components company, a supplier to almost every major car brand on the road. Nobody was asking for a change. And yet, Nishant chose to go into electric buses before the policy existed, before the infrastructure was there, before most people believed it would work. This is a conversation about what it takes to disrupt something that's already working and what any leader can take from that. Nishant, thank you so much for joining us today on Future Unplugged.
My pleasure.
There is a lot to discuss, but before we get into all the serious stuff and hopefully take some of your learnings and your experiences, which can be useful to all our listeners and viewers, maybe start with something to just break the ice, if I may.
Sure, please.
So it's called two truths and a lie. It's something that I learned from my kids, etc.
Okay.
So maybe you will make three predictions. You know, if you just want to think it over about, let's say, the Indian economy, what's happening in the, let's say, the renewable space or the new energy space, and things about general, and maybe then I should take a crack at which one of those is possibly not exactly true. And maybe we'll get your reflections on that just to break the ice.
Sure.
So anything that comes to, like, which are the top three which come to your mind then?
So I would say one would be that by the end of this decade or by beginning of 2030s, 100% or majority of all the public transport in India newly deployed would be electric. Secondly, it could be that again more than 50% of India's power comes from renewable and different kind of storage solutions, again within, let's say, next 5 to 6 years, so again early 2030s. And thirdly, it could be let's say in a span of next few years you don't see any people on the shop floor, and they are ghost factories, as you see, or dark factories as you see in our neighboring countries in few areas.
Well, I mean, Nishant, I have to say that I'll go with the third one here, because the first two, yes, I mean, we are certainly on the renewables journey. Whatever you have done on EVs, and we'll speak about it, etc. But that space has really warmed up, etc. And India's dependence on thermal has been going down. Of course, albeit the last 2 years have been a bit different. But I think the human element can never go away, whether in technology or in manufacturing. I mean, this is not for me to say, but is that so? Is that the right one? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think just the roles which people play would change, and the roles would become a lot more value added with the incubation and involvement of AI and IoT and machine learning and the way people are evolving today. I think that will be a big change which we'll foresee, and machine to machine connectivity would get enhanced, which will definitely bring in a very high level of productivity, and people would be really focusing on centers of excellence, value added jobs, quality product, and amongst many other things.
yeah, I mean, I must say that I was a bit scared, because these days, every day, Like, you see Anthropic has come up with something. And then I was speaking to my son, and he said the following day, I saw a message. He said, Dad, do you know OpenAI has come with version 5.5, which is even more powerful? And, so there is disruption every day happening. So you really
Yeah,
get
yeah,
scared
yeah.
at time as to where this is taking us.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to be consistently on the treadmill.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And, just to be aware so that you can
Yes.
have a discussion, really.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So,
Can't agree more.
so that sets us up well, hopefully, Nishant. And I want to start with your journey, and go back in time when you came back to India from the UK. And it's something that we can it's a preliminary important thing as to why do you change something which is working very, very well, but you did exactly that. Your business was doing really well, but at that point in time itself, you thought about doing something which had, at that point in time, not been tested or not been tried. What was your motivation to change something which was working well?
See, the genesis always lies in, I think, past and present both of all such kind of actions which people take. And when I was in college and then post that, I got great opportunity of working in different European and Japanese companies to gain experience. And that's where I understood the power of technology and how technology driving value was a key enabler. And clearly, I wanted to look at developing, creating something which I could call my own baby going forward. And that is when I realized that I should look at something which is driven by technology. And, always you are not focused on scale only. I feel that the relevance which your work has for the society, country, and the world at large, and it is scalable, is a real impact. And that is what I was trying to build then. And that is where I saw that there's a good opportunity in the area, coming from the automotive industry originally, having seen the industry, hearing those conversations as my father built the complete business on the auto components and system side. So obviously you are having that comfort with that sector as well. So there, public transport was an area which was not very well addressed, and there was no player which was particularly only in the public transport or in the bus space.
Yeah.
And there I saw an opportunity, and definitely we started working in that sphere and putting a team together and working on things. I think rest is history, but definitely that is what would give you a kind of alignment and kick to understand how are you impacting people's lives.
Yeah. No, I'm sure you're making it sound very simple, but I just want to dwell a little deeper on that.
Sure.
I mean, it is not something which is which comes without capital. So it is a really capital
Sure.
intensive business. Possibly could have been thought about by some as ahead of its time, because there was you're doing really well. Yes, we had to focus on sustainability and so on and so forth, but we hadn't possibly announced our ambitious goals, whether it was India or whether it was the globe. And yes, I think everybody acknowledges the need for how Indian cities should look different and should be breathable, but still to actually have the conviction to get into public transport, to make green buses, which are very capital intensive. There must have been moments when you possibly would have thought that is it right time now or maybe 5 years later?
No, so I think one very important aspect which really gave me that confidence was that my father always had that confidence in me, and which was very reassuring. And seeing that I know whatever you'll do well. And whatever you're doing, you'll do with full commitment and passion. And I think uh, those words of confidence built in a very high level of motivation, and it really inspired me as an individual, because I had always seen him do what he did at his best and consistently. So, and having learned a few key such focus areas of technology, of product building, of clearly seeing redefining the dynamics in any sector
Yeah.
from different companies where I gained experience, I think were very valuable in shaping me up and giving me a mindset of being persistent and consistent in my focus. So I think those were certain key foundational learnings for me, which
Yeah.
really made me what I am today. Yes.
So the enablement came both at home, which was very
Yes.
important through your father's conviction about what you were going to do, and also everything that you had learned prior to
Yes.
jumping into it. But one other aspect which is very critical, and it's I mean I do remember back in 2010 it was a time when just emerging out of the global financial crisis, there was a certain amount of uncertainty. There were a couple of years in India actually which were there seemed to be policy log jams, etc.
Yeah.
2012, 13 in particular, and which is when you were actually incubating all this, experimenting all this, etc.
Right.
In this journey, which today is very, very successful, um, were there some self doubts at some point in time?
Yeah, definitely. I think at times, and I would give examples. So one of my first visits I had to Israel about 13, 14 years ago, where I heard that they were just looking at incubating startups, and they were incubating focus areas on sustainability, mobility, energy, which was not the traditional focus
Yeah.
in 15 years ago in their segment, in their country. So there, they had this concept called fail fast, fail cheap.
Right.
So, which really struck me and shook me up, that they would see that majority of founders who had failed in the past really know what to do and what not to do. And for them, success matters a lot more than a first timer who has just come up with a startup or something, and they used to get majority of the funding. So I think whereas many of the countries including India, I had seen everywhere that it was a taboo. If you have failed in the past, then people would not entertain or engage with you and all that. And I think that was really reassuring for me, that that if you have to do is you should do it quickly, and if something doesn't work, close that down and start a new chapter and then
Right.
move on. So that, I think, gave me a lot of confidence and focus to build things up. Yeah.
So, just one final question I have in mind. During this time, and particularly when everybody would try and do something like this, one would always go to someone who would challenge me to make sure that my conviction about something new that I was trying to do was at an elevated level, and I'll drive it with the passion and with the energy, with complete conviction. Was it your father or was it somebody else in your ecosystem?
No, it was my father. Then I was very lucky to have a great team
Right.
and different stalwarts of the industry who had joined the organization. And I always believe that, generally many founders at times start with me. So, journey from me to we
Right.
is very, very important.
Wonderful.
And at a very early age, this is something which was inbuilt into our organization structure at a group level, that how professionally you are able to take things across. And I believe that, many people have contributed in my journey to really understand how to look at things, how to evaluate opportunities, how to really go that extra mile becomes so important. And I have always felt that, that the past should not become the mortgage of the future. So I think at times when people do not really go beyond the existing levels, then they are not able to really foresee things in a manner, because you would never see that the industry or any segment is ready on a platter for you to launch. Then it's too late.
Right. Right.
So, and if it's visible to everyone, then it's visible, that opportunity is there for everyone. So, you have to really catch it young at the right time, and to be able to harness it is very important. And I think we still operate like a startup today in the organization, where we are very nimble, agile, versatile as an organization to be able to adapt to new things. And I think that is what keeps us going at all times. And really thank all our stakeholders. And there have been many people who have really given such great global perspectives, talking about the basic fundamentals, the industry ground realities, how evolution will happen.
Right.
So I think for me, learning has been the only constant uh, amongst many other things over the last few decades.
So, so that was the initiation as far as the whole EV ecosystem that you envisaged was concerned. And today you have it all. I mean, you have the vehicles, you have the battery charging, the infrastructure, everything is there. It's been all been put together. And of course, India has done quite well because, again, it's not just the focus on vehicles, but the entire ecosystem India has attempted to develop and deliver. But but when you look at the progress that you have made today, and what you have achieved over the last 14 years, and of course there is a way to go, and we'll all be watching out for that. Um, did you think that back when you started the journey that you would be where you are in 2026, or do you think that you thought you could be further ahead, or maybe you've done quicker than what you thought you could get to 2026?
No, I think I used to take it probably 5 years horizon at a time, so that you don't lose focus, but yet you are looking at the future and not planning for the short term. And then we started taking a 10-year horizon a few years back. And that has really helped me and my whole leadership team to really look at things differently. And we saw that definitely market will grow. We wanted to ensure that we are keeping the leadership position intact.
Yeah.
And for that, one thing which was constant was evolution. That how are we able to evolve faster than the market? How are we able to demonstrate leadership through technology, through products, through customer experiences, through the whole total cost of ownership mindset in our business? And I think in most of the areas we have been able to do that, which has really helped us transform as an organization. And clearly, what got us here will not take us there in the
Yeah.
future. So we have to act differently to get different results, and that's what our organization is all about.
So, if you were to think about it, in the journey that you have had so far, the decisions that you made, some of those, I'm sure there were some very pivotal moments that, okay, whether to build, uh, whether to partner, and if to partner, who to partner with. When you made those decisions, and I'm supposing that you also had some international collaborations for technology and others during those times.
Sure.
How did you go about choosing? Because it was not something that a lot of Indian component manufacturers were planning. I mean, maybe some of the bigger guys were, but how did you go about it? And did the ability of somebody who had deeper pockets unnerve you at any point in time?
So I'll answer both the questions one by one. So, I always felt that how do you partner with a company which is not having a transactional mindset?
Yeah.
And we try to work with companies which had a long-term outlook, which had a strategic approach, and where we could create value for them and they could create value for us. So it was a win-win mindset we were working upon. And we were lucky, with God's grace, to find such partners
Right.
in different segments of our EV ecosystem, which consistently enabled us. And we had a lot of learnings from our different partners in the past, with whom we consistently saw that how they were not waiting for technology to be redundant, but they were ensuring they incubated changes way before. So that becomes a lot more seamless, and they are able to take things across. When you talk about any unnerving challenges, so I think definitely I always believe, and I'm a firm believer of that, that uh, being the first mover, we had a lot of advantages in the market to learn at our own pace. But at the same time, we had to demonstrate leadership, because at times the customers or other stakeholders would want to see how we as a company were able to differentiate ourselves and what is that we are doing to maintain our position. And many players could come and invest and do definitely multiple things, but we as an organization thrive on complexity.
Right.
That how does complexity drive us? And in every sector, so I always take example of the Japanese economy. The automotive industry there became what it is because if you look at either of the 5 6 players, whether Toyota, Suzuki, Honda, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Mazda of the world, they had such an intense domestic competition that they raised the bar very high. And then each of them, in their own way, conquered multiple markets across the world, across segments. And they led those markets and they were the technology leaders there. But because the home market was so demanding, that they could really get where they are. And similarly, today, India is the second largest bus market of the world. So we have to realize that what is that we are pegging ourselves against. So where there is room for everyone, but at the same time, companies which are able to really understand that opportunity early on can start acting upon it much faster.
Now you've created the ecosystem, but let me ask you 3 or 4 questions on the ecosystem itself. Um, and let me start, at the broadest level, right? I mean, at the broadest level, we think about ESG goals and something which was very celebrated just until a few years back. But for many years, etc., they were a little bit of a tick in the box. And today, I think they are coming across as something which is value bearing. So let's start with that. Let's start with the broader level, and then we'll go down to some others. How did you see the broader ESG narrative during the days that you were doing what you were doing?
So, as I spoke initially, that for me, relevance initially was more important than scale. I said
Yeah.
that would eventually definitely come
Yeah.
if you are relevant and if you are an integral part of the whole larger story. So, what I try to look at is that fundamentally, India as a country today imports close to 85 90% of its energy requirements
Right.
from different parts of the world in different form factors, whether we talk about crude or we talk about different petroleum products or coal or many so on and so forth, multiple things.
Yeah.
So eventually that is going to limit the kind of opportunities we have to invest. And as we are growing as a nation, the requirements in infrastructure and many other areas would be there and they would enhance. And in the current government establishment, I think last 12 13 years, that has been enhanced multifold.
Yeah.
And we clearly see that with our renewable program coming in, with the focus on biofuels, we've
Yeah.
saved billions and billions of dollars. But this needs to get extrapolated and expedited furthermore. So if that has to happen, so then you have to see that sustainability has to become profitable. Sustainability is not something which is good to have, it is need to have. It's not on the sidelines, it's mainstream.
Right.
And as it becomes mainstream, so that is what brought us focused, where we saw that today around ESG. So earlier we were focused more on the mobility side, then we moved on the energy side, then we moved on the best side, then we looked at the charging infrastructure, along with the technology interventions in power electronics or in battery, lithium battery space. So I think that has been our perspective, so that that relevance is not lost, the focus is not lost. At the same time, you are going very deep, so you are not on the surface in any domain. You are having that kind of commitment, long term commitment, and knowledge, which is driven by our people, which is driven by the ecosystem, which is driven by the long term outlook through our global partners and our teams
Yeah.
and stakeholders worldwide.
So I think again you mentioned two very critical things for me. I think one is the ecosystem that you have built. almost you have got to the well to wheel, but you're also now a very integrated player. There's backward integration that you have done. There is some forward integration that you have done it. Now, which of the components of this ecosystem that you have put together was the hardest for you to put together, whether it was the charging ecosystem or whether it was the battery ecosystem? Which one was the hardest for you also from a policy standpoint? Where did you find the biggest bottleneck?
See, I think every step was tough in its own way, because when we moved from just being a auto component company in one business to another business making buses, so then the perspective was, how do we understand the full vehicle? What is our right to win? What is our inherent strength, which we had to build and demonstrate. When we built that, and we were looking at electric vehicles more than a decade ago, then at that time we said, what do you understand about high voltage? What do you understand about batteries? So then when we started looking at batteries and we made electric vehicles, we should look at high voltage batteries. Then we say, how do you understand safety? So then we had to build that capability. So when I was talking about complexity, so thriving on complexity meant that how we are building those layers of knowledge,
Right.
and that ability of learning at a very fast pace and absorbing technology and then creating technology parallelly. So I think that was very important. And post that, the high power electronics, and then when we reached there, we saw probably we have reached a pinnacle of knowledge, but that is baseline for the future at the same time. So that's when we moved to infrastructure, mobility areas, charging infra, and being able to see that how does customer experience become so very important, moving from product to experience, moving from just technology to value proposition for the end customer. I think those were certain key changeovers. So at every juncture, we had to evolve, we had to learn, we had to scale up, and we had to understand the nuances of each domain. So, which we have been trying to do, and I think best is still yet to come. We are just scratching the surface in our country, having the benefit of today's growth trajectory. It is a great feeling when, as an Indian, you go abroad worldwide and you see and you engaging on different technology basis, how as a country our total perception and format has changed, and which also gives you a huge boost to really do a lot more than you're doing today.
Yeah, I think I remember you mentioning you launching your EV in France a couple of years back, and I'm sure it's a matter of huge pride. But just on that topic, the policy framework for much of what you were trying to do was also evolving.
Yeah.
Do you think it's kept pace, or do you think that we could have moved faster?
No, I think policies have evolved very fast. Focus on manufacturing has come in a big way. Localization has come in a big way. I think one area where we as a country, on a larger scheme of things, have really focused with the ANRF coming in, and then research and development being a focus there. I think like Make in India, similarly Create in India, Design in India kind of initiative, in addition to all the good work which has been done, is brought in, then that will accelerate growth a lot faster, and the value add in Indian market would be very large. So what we are doing today for many other global companies as engineering design centers, and millions of engineers are doing that today. So I think that opportunity is available, which is being addressed in bits and pieces. But I think holistically, if that is taken up, it will bring in a paradigm shift in the country and the mindset of people, how we are evolving, and especially with the current evolution of AI.
Yeah.
That enables us to do that at a much faster pace. When we are working on it.
So let's talk about that. I think those are the two things that I haven't picked up with you. I think you mentioned technology and AI. So that's one aspect, because what is the role that is already played for you in where you've got to so far? And considering that there is so much disruption today, how do you think you will be leveraging AI and technology going forward? Let's just pick up that one first.
So I would say technology is the bedrock of our organization. So today, if I see, we invest probably about 3 to 4% of our revenue into engineering, R&D, technology areas, and that is the bedrock of the whole group and different businesses.
Right.
And on the other hand, when we look at technology, I think that is what ensures our competitiveness.
Right.
So we see technology as a great enabler and rather a differentiator for ourselves in domestic and global markets. And that's why today, when I see and hear from colleagues, we launched our vehicles in Dubai and Middle East last year, and fantastic response. And when we get compared to companies from China or other countries, they say that you are a technology leader, your product is standing out. So I think that is what gives us reassurance and clarity that, focus on technology is not good to have, but it's hygiene
Yeah.
today. And that is something which is part of the DNA.
Yeah, focus on technology is hygiene. That's very well put, Anisha. And I must say that it's something which we tend to fear at times, but you actually brought to life how you can leverage it and create value of it already. But the other thing which I wanted to pick up with you, Nishant, was that in your journey, whether it was back in 2019 and then, of course, COVID, and then, of course, more recently, there have been multiple supply side shocks which have
Sure.
come in, to your what you were trying to do or what you
Yeah,
were trying to
yeah.
create. And yes, we all keep talking about every time this is an opportunity for us to indigenize further and localize and do the whole India piece, etc. How has that been for you? The supply side shocks, have they tempered your exuberance about where you could have got to?
I think COVID was a big teacher, and we really learned a lot of lessons then. And clearly, as an organization, as an individual, personally, professionally, both, that the complete risk assessment framework, risk mitigation plans were, I would say, not revamped, but we built again from scratch,
Right.
because
Completely.
never in the past had we envisaged anything like this. And this was a totally different ball game and totally different challenge which we were addressing at that point, and not only for us, but I believe for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's when we realized, that de-risking on supply chain with different suppliers, with different geographies, with different modes of transportation, with multiple technologies, was extremely important. It definitely added another layer of commitment, of relationships, of engagement, and people had to toil hard to make it a reality. But I think that has really helped us to sail through in the last 5 years with multiple geopolitical, socio-economic
Yeah.
challenges which have come up and still exist.
So, I mean, I always keep hearing that every disruption in the marketplace, every distortion creates an opportunity for those who can take it. And certainly, it appears that you have learned from each one of those and taken that as an opportunity to grow faster. I mean, just basis your launches recently. But one other aspect, and again, I'm turning a leaf here, is when you're leading an organization of 35,000 people and you're trying to grow as quickly as you have with creating an ecosystem, creating an backward integration, forward integration, everything that you have done, you as the leader are thinking 20 things. How is it that you have created, and you spoke about your team earlier, the relevance and importance of your team, but you're also the 35,000 people that work with you. How have you kept them at pace with you?
So, what we have tried to do is that our not only complete leadership, but every JBMite, as all JBM colleagues, we are all called, they are really partners in the success of the organization. And in JBM, we have a rule what we call 1 plus 1 11.
Right.
So, how as partners we all are playing roles, each role being equally important, and just that people are playing different roles. So, you will see that at the leadership level or at operating level, in the management, or even when newcomers join the management, they are uh, with the organization for a very long period of time.
Right.
Because I feel that a culture of the organization is the first step of strategy. And in our organization, I always share with my colleagues that each individual, irrespective of their roles, are first responsible for the human capital. That's the most important capital, irrespective of the kind of business you are in. And nobody would understand better than the leaders in your industry, including yourself, how that adds value. So I think understanding and building that human capital
Yeah.
has been our focus and has been our success today. And definitely, this is something which I would like to enhance and grow substantially as we go forward.
Yeah. So I think you mentioned about our industry. I mean, when you look at it, we always look up to mentors. We always look up to people who have coached and guided us during the toughest times, etc. But also, I think organizationally, what efforts does the organization make to upskill you and stay engaged with you? For you, Nishant, and for JBM, how does the people engagement and making sure that they are relevant to your thinking, they are being upskilled, how do you make sure that they keep pace with all of that?
So we keep ensuring that at all times different kind of interventions
Yeah.
and engagements with which people are having experiential learning or peer-to-peer learning, and we have multiple tie-ups with the different institutions in India and abroad to engage and support us on this activity. And we focus on developing the individual development plans for longer term, and constantly like to recognize high potential, which we call high pots,
Yeah.
to develop them with different tools at multiple junctures. And then our policies, systems keep evolving to enable the same, because for the organization to be agile, nimble, and to be on a growth path, we have to do that. But I think one more thing which at least I learned from my European counterparts back in the day is that how do you ensure and create that bandwidth at all times? So we always try to see that in our business, we create that, go that extra mile and create a bandwidth which is not meant for today's business,
Right.
which is meant for driving growth for the future. I think that is very important. Initially, I feel that many people used to feel that why do we create such bandwidth? But I think the last few years,
Yeah.
we have realized the intrinsic value
Yeah.
such bandwidth adds to the organization.
So some of those people are like evangelists who are thinking what next, what will
Yes,
come next, what
yes.
disruption will come next, and how JBM will do better in that. Yeah, wonderful. I think that's wonderful. You know, you've run a significant transformation of your teams, your people, and of course your business. It is delivered at the end of the day by people and by teams, management teams, and invariably when you ask those shifts to happen, we see that. It's really the middle layer, people who have experienced the past in some ways, who could be a bit diffident to change and
Yeah, yeah.
make it a bit harder at times for the organization to move at pace. Did you experience that, or how
Yeah,
was it for
yeah,
you?
I have experienced that and I still experience it regularly. So, what we've tried to inculcate is that across entry, middle leadership, top management levels, how attitude and aptitude and ability to learn are certain key factors which we are evaluating,
Yeah.
and we are giving feedback, transparent feedback
Yeah.
to people, and we are ensuring to come out with solutions which are curated for each individual based on their needs to ensure they are playing unique roles in the future.
So Nishant, you touched upon a very topical point. You mentioned giving feedback. I'm not sure. I mean, I just feel that at times we don't train people to give feedback. Maybe people need to be trained to give feedback, because
Yes.
I've seen people don't give honest feedback to people.
Yeah.
And that actually is not a great thing for their coaches, because they never know. They just think that things are okay. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, what does okay mean? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you think about it.
No, I think what you're saying is absolutely right, and that is not only because of the individuals. I think as a culture in India, not because people are not transparent. People do not want to hurt other people
Not give bad
or
news.
give bad news,
Yeah.
and really want to pace it out and give it in a manner which at times dilutes the essence of the feedback. I really learnt it from a few of my German colleagues
Right.
that who are pretty direct, straightforward with their perspective, so that the other person is not really confused. And I think coupled with that German way of giving feedback and engaging with peers, coupled with the Indian culture, I think brings the perfect blend
Yeah.
how to do things. And I personally feel that there is no standard formula, is a customized package which every individual should get from their peers and their superiors and bosses, to see that that is a responsibility and accountability each one of us have.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's very well said, and I think there's some key learnings for all of us from what Nishant you just said. Uh, Nishant, moving forward, you represent India at multiple multilateral forums, including the COP and Davos and others. And I'm sure you've seen the evolution,
Yeah.
and the respect for India grow over the years. And I'm sure there is still some feedback. I mean, we haven't attained nirvana. There is much distance for us to grow and go. Where do you think India is currently positioned? And if there were one or two or three things which you think we as a nation could do even more to embellish our positioning in the global network, what would those be?
I think there hasn't been a better time for India since our independence. The value which India is getting in the global arena today is multidimensional, and it is redefining the purpose of Indians, Indian companies, Indian corporates in the global market. And that is where I personally feel that establishing India as a leader of the global south, or looking at the multiple free trade agreements which have happened, creating an open market, and seeing that we as companies get equal opportunities or substantial opportunities in global markets, developed markets, developing markets, I think brings in a uh, paradigm shift in the way Indian companies used to operate and think. So I think in today's generation, scale and size is embedded in their plan,
Yeah.
which may not have been the part of every company in the past. And I feel that clearly we have established ourselves as global citizens today. So, Indians at the helm of affairs of some of the most leading international institutions clearly demonstrates the ability which we have, and the world has recognized the same. So, that gives India a great opportunity to be able to grow exponentially as a country, and address the needs of the global markets, and see that how we emerge clearly in the next few years amongst the top three economies of the world.
Yeah.
And the being amongst the top four countries in the world with our GDP,
Yeah.
even with such a ever growing population, with a clear democracy, I think is a very, very mammoth feat to achieve.
Yeah.
And kudos to our current establishment, Honorable Prime Minister, and the full leadership of the country and the corporates and all key stakeholders. So
Yeah.
it is not one but all who
Everybody coming
have
together.
contributed very meaningfully to ensure India where it is.
Yeah.
But definitely, I see that next 20, 25 years is the golden age of India, where tremendous growth and development opportunities would be available to Indian companies. And I think we can create very, very frugal solutions for the world. So there is no cookie cutter model for India, which I believe Indian companies have to follow. But we have the opportunity of chartering our own path.
Yeah.
And as we hear and we have seen, the mother of all deals, the EU free trade agreement, or the UK free trade agreement, or our participation in Middle East with the RCEP with multiple countries, and in the Asia Pacific, what we are doing, the engagement India has brought in BRICS, and the kind of proximity which we have built with Africa, different countries in South America and Central America and the Caribbean region. Parallelly, what we have brought on our East policy with
Yeah.
the recent visits of the Japanese and the Korean leaders,
Yeah.
I think puts India on a different pedestal, and a lot of things are happening.
Yeah.
We just need to see that how can we contain this
Yeah.
and accelerate it at a faster pace so that we as a country are able to enhance a lot more value. I think, but one thing which is getting enhanced and will become a larger piece going forward is the GVC, the global value chains. So today, India is less than 2%, but I feel that it can grow substantially to a very high single digit or close to 10%
Close to 10%.
in times to come with the kind of opportunity we have at hand.
Got it. Got it. No, very, very clear. I mean, do you see productivity in Indian factories? For I would say even in Indian services, for that matter. Of course, we talk about agriculture, but we'll keep that out. As an issue, do you think that we can do more there? I mean, we have the right platform.
No, definitely. I think in last few years, automation, technology, productivity, first time right, quality focus, global products have been a very good focus for us and a game changer for India as a country.
Yeah.
But I think we have a long way to go to disrupt the global markets and to really take a lion's share of the GVC. We need to really change gears and go for a totally different approach in terms of how we can contribute in a very substantial and meaningful manner for multiple countries on different areas of strength which we have in multiple sectors. So I think there's a huge opportunity lying ahead, waiting to be harnessed
Yeah.
by Indian companies. Yeah.
And I'm sure, Nishant, you're going to be anchoring a lot of that opportunity that you just spoke about. So we'll move to the last segment, which is a little bit about Nishant, the person. With all the travel that you do, with everything that you've already created, what do you do to unwind?
I personally see, the few things, whether it is my kids or my wife Srishti or my parents or my friends, spending time with them, quality time. I'm extremely fond of Formula One.
Right.
Being a big believer of right speed and balance, I think has added tremendous value for me personally always. And Formula One resonates that. I feel that a few other things in addition to that, like I'm very fond of running.
Right.
So I think running really helps me to keep going and to really cleanse myself and detoxify.
Right.
So to recharge myself personally, and I'm quite fond of music.
Right.
so which is extremely de-stressing for me. And yeah.
So, do any of these factor like before you go to sleep? I mean, some amount of meditation or just some music or
Yeah, like my parents and especially my father was very particular. Since childhood, we used to do yoga and meditate. So growing up, we've done that. We've had a very healthy lifestyle towards what kind of life should be. Whether even my grandfather and the whole family at large, uh, clearly, and believing in the Vedic values,
right,
and uh, seeing that how in life you need to see and focus upon multiple things, because eventually the value system is the DNA,
yeah,
which is a driving force, which drives you to work every day. And
yeah,
I always believe that if I am passionate, or for that matter, anybody is passionate about anything, they'll do that well.
right,
So, doing something not for the heck of doing it, but doing something because you like it, you love it,
yeah,
or you are raring to go towards it,
right,
I
right.
think is the difference you need to make to your own self to be the best version of yourself.
Wonderful. Nishant, one more. I'll take the liberty of asking you. You travel a lot. I
Sure.
mean, how does your family deal with it?
I always believe in one thing, that wherever I am 100% there.
Right,
So, if I'm at work, so I would be fully focused on that. If I'm at home with my family, I would be fully focused on that. So, I believe a lot more on quality than only quantity. And definitely, I think different interventions which we do, small breaks we take whenever one can,
right,
always makes all the difference.
right,
So, and that is something which has really fueled me, and they have been extremely supportive,
right.
which I always recognize and see, which is a very key enabler. So, I have that peace of mind.
Right. So if I may ask two final questions. One is that I'm sure there are a lot of people who are behind your success, but I'll still ask this question. If I were to ask you that one person who you think has had your back and has always been an inspiration for you, who would that person be?
I think true inspiration from me, and knowingly, unknowingly, learning directly, indirectly, learning has been my father.
Yeah.
He has been a great teacher, extremely patient. I just always believe, even if I can become an iota like him, I would have achieved a lot in life. And how his outlook is always very long term, and not only for self, but for the family, society, country, and the world at large. And seeing what he has done and what he's doing, and the kind of zeal and passion and enthusiasm he has, uh, is phenomenal. I think the spirit of learning which I have got, and I think till today, I personally feel that I just know an iota of what I would like to learn and do.
Right.
And the world is the oyster
Yeah.
which we need to conquer to be able to uh, become the best version of ourselves by learning everything rather than comparing with anybody else. So I think these are great teachings and learnings which he has passed on to me, and I imbibe them in my daily life every day.
Yeah. So the world is the oyster. So on that note, my final one is that let's assume that we are sitting in 2035 or 2036, 10 years out. What would Nishant have achieved professionally and what would he be doing personally?
All the professional achievements are not mine. I'm just the face of the organization. They belong to my family. They belong to my colleagues, all the JBMites, all the stakeholders. It would be wrong on my part to say they are mine. Personally, my success would only be defined to see that how am I able to see that my children grow up to be great individuals who are doing what they love to do, and they are able to excel in whatever they are doing, and one is able to have a balanced life with my wife Srishti, or my parents, and my friends, so that having that mental peace and that balance in life is very important. Personally, I do not believe in work life balance as much, because I feel that when you are at work, you are 100% at work. When you are in your personal engagements, you are 100% there, so there is no balance at that in that case. You need to just focus on what you're doing at that given point in time.
But the legacy continues. I think that's clearly the message that
Yes,
I'm getting.
legacy continues, and I think those are the learnings which we have and which we would like to spread and share. If anything is kept in a confined area,
Yeah.
does not remain same. It either goes down or it goes up. So at all times, one has to spread and share and ensure that how are you able to uh, see that all the learnings and know-how you have are going across to all stakeholders
Yeah. Share.
and share with everybody. Yeah.
Wonderful. Nishant, thank you so much for joining us on Future Unplugged. It's been wonderful conversing. I'm
My
sure there are a
pleasure.
lot of learnings that I myself have had. And of course, I thought I know you, but I got to know you a little better. Thank you so much for
No, no,
joining us.
pleasure is mine. I think I have learned a lot from you today.
Thank you. Thank you, Nishant. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Every time that I sit down for one of these conversations, I walk away thinking about something I wasn't expecting to think about. This is Future Unplugged, and I'm Sanjeev Krishan.